Good morning, sir or madam or whatever you call yourself. I'm Alex. This is the Lost Souls podcast, and today we're going to be talking about feeling unworthy of love. Now, I know, it's something that isn't that easy to talk about, but hey, that's why I'm here doing it, right? And usually I have coffee, but this morning, instead of coffee, I've got tea. Because today's episode is going to be scalding hot. Probably not, but you can hope. I am here, here's what I want people to understand about me sitting here making this, is that I'm doing it for me too, and I think I put this at the beginning of every one of these, but this is something I've been struggling with, here recently, in the tears I have cried in the past 24 hours, because I feel unworthy of love. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of this microphone, because if I struggle with it, I know other people do. And maybe they'll find this video, and maybe they won't. But, if just one person finds this video and it helps them in some way, then I've made a positive impact on the world. And you don't get to make a positive impact by sitting on your ass and not doing anything. So here I am. But, I struggle too. And I'm trying to work through this myself, and this gives me an outlet to do that. B, it puts me front and center to where I'm going out there and I'm putting this here for people to find if they're looking for it, putting it here for people to look for. And maybe it helps people. Because at the end of the day, I just want to help people not feel the ways I've felt and not have to go through the things I've went through to get to the places I'm at now. And that's not perfect, and that's every day. That's every day. I have to try to be a better person than I was yesterday. Right? It's not something that happens overnight. And it's something you have to work toward. But if you're struggling with feelings of unworthiness, feelings of feeling unworthy of love, then I do encourage you to, if you have no faith, if you have faith, you have another avenue here. But if you have no faith, reach out to people. Reach out to people in your life, because even if they're not going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, even if they don't give you those words that you're looking for, and even if it's just this, almost meaningless interaction that you have with somebody, reaching out, even if it's just, hey, what's up, right? You do feel better afterward, even if it's just this little passing moment with another person. And I said, if you don't have faith, do that. But even if you do have faith, it's still important to reach out to people. So please do that. And anybody that's on this video, I sit here and I do pray for you. I hope that your day gets better. And even if you don't want me to pray for you, even if you got an issue with prayer or whatever, I just hope that if you're having a hard time today, that your day gets better. But now, let's get into the rest of this. So, when it comes to feeling unworthy of love, I think that a lot of people are really hard on themselves, right? But here's what you have to realize as a human being, is that we are all human. Every last person on this planet is a human being, and there's not one of us that's perfect. We all make mistakes. See, I have a little story for this, because I recently started a new job. I say recently, it's been about a month now, but I recently started a new job, and I make mistakes doing that all the time. Everybody does. Nobody does anything perfectly, right? And I think when you're new, especially at a place, or you're just starting out at doing something, you do make a lot more. You do make a lot more mistakes, and you look at those and you're hard on yourself for those. But here's the thing. Even people who have been doing the same thing for years make mistakes too, right? They don't get a free pass to be perfect just because they've been doing it for way longer than you have. And that's okay, because again, they're people too, right? But just remember that, even the most experienced, the most qualified, the quote unquote best people in the world make mistakes too. I mean, do you think the President of the United States doesn't make any bad decisions? Do you think that the cabinet, or even the Pope? I mean, really, do you think they don't make bad decisions? I mean, everybody, the leaders of the world, everywhere, everybody makes mistakes, and you're not gonna escape that. No matter who you are, what you're doing, or how meticulous or perfect you're trying to be, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's best if we all just go ahead and accept that. And now that's an issue for a lot of people. It's an issue for me because if you're anything like me, you hold yourself to a higher standard than you hold most other people, right? When other people make mistakes, when other people do stuff that you see as like they made a mistake, you're like they're human. They're just another person. People make mistakes. But if you look at yourself, you don't look at yourself that way. I don't look at myself that way. I guess I'm projecting onto you, but no, I don't look at myself that way, right? And I think a lot of people are the same way, to where when you make a mistake, you look at yourself and you say you could have done better, right? You shouldn't have done that, and we shouldn't, But at the end, but really, and I'll get into some more about this later, but I think that we hold ourselves to higher standards because even if we don't accept it or haven't come to the conclusion, we realize that we are the only person that we really have control over, right? Even if you don't want to accept that or realize that we are the only person we have control over. And so we see ourselves as this realm of influence we have over in the world, right? That's just us, right? And so we kind of double down on that realm of influence to where it's like, you need to do better, you need to do this better, you need to be faster, you need to get stronger or kinder or better with words or whatever it is you're looking for, fitter, skinnier, prettier. I mean, if you're a girl listening to this, I doubt you are, but if you're a girl, prettier, like wearing more makeup or doing makeup better, right? Why do you think girls learn how to do makeup so well, right? Because they're all trying to be prettier. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, girls should just accept being ugly. Like, no, that's something that men do. Just kidding. But no, if like you feel pretty or you want to be pretty, then be pretty. Like, who, just don't do it for everybody else. I think it's a lot better when women aren't just trying to impress everybody else, but really they're doing it because they feel better when they're pretty. And I know that there is a whole societal thing going there of like, I'm not a woman, so I don't know it, but apparently women are like force fed the idea they got to be pretty so people like them. And that is, excuse me if I don't edit that out. And that is what it is, right? They're told they got to be pretty, and I'm not gonna lie, everybody likes a pretty girl. Like, even if you're not like attracted to them per se, but like there is like pretty girl privilege, and there are benefits to it, right? But if you're just doing it to hide your flaws and not accepting your flaws and like accepting yourself as who you are, that's when it becomes an issue. Because here's what we want to do: we want to come in and we want to act like we know we're not perfect. Like, this is the issue, because we're liars to ourselves. We know we're not perfect. We know we have issues. We know we have flaws, but we don't want the world to see those, right? So we hide those. We hide everything that makes us different or makes us not perfect, and act like they're not there. And the issue is, even when you do that, people can see them, right? When there's a girl who puts so much makeup on her face that it's just caked over, right? And she comes through somewhere, yeah, you can't tell that there are pimples or blemishes underneath all of that while she's right in front of you most of the time. Sometimes you can. Sorry, ladies. Sometimes you can tell that those are just hiding pimples, and maybe that's, you're just doing the best with what you got. But when you overcompensate, it takes me back, the guys who have big pickup trucks, you're like, oh, they're compensating for something. Yeah, when you overcompensate for something, it makes it clear where your insecurity lies, and it makes it clear that you are insecure about it, and it almost points it out more than if you just come through and just said, yeah, I'm not perfect, this is what I got, and we're just dealing with it, right? And there's strength to that, because that's not easy to do. That's not easy to just look at your weaknesses and go like, hey, this is what it is. It okay. And like move forward with it, and not have to, try to go back and do everything else to make up for it, or hide it to the extent to where it's never seen. And we should we just need to learn to accept ourselves. I'm not saying we shouldn't try to do better. I'm not saying we shouldn't try to grow. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't, you know, kind of bring our, because you kind of have to pull yourself you have to pull yourself kicking and screaming sometimes to that point to where you're actually changing things. But, just be kind to yourself and just honestly just be willing to forgive yourself for the ways you're not perfect. Forgive yourself for the ways that you make mistakes. And I say forgive yourself for not being perfect because people want to be perfect, right? And so if you want to be perfect and you can't be perfect, what's the point in just you can say that all day long, but you still want to be perfect. So forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for being human, right? That's all we can do, and then just move forward. And here's the other thing: this helps me to not feel alone, right? But realize that when you think like that, when you feel like that, like you need to be perfect, like you need to hide your flaws, like you need to hide your mistakes, like you're not worthy of love, you're not worthy of everything. You're not the only person who feels that way. Plenty of people feel that way and will in some ways admit they feel that way, and even more feel that way that won't even talk about it or accept it. All right? I don't want to throw out numbers because I would look like a fool because I don't have any data in front of me, but plenty of people feel that way, and just know that you are not alone in those feelings. And here's the thing: if you've clicked on this video, if you're sitting, standing, laying down, flying on an airplane, I don't think you can do that. I think that's against the law. Whatever you're doing, wherever maybe you've learned how to float in the air. Maybe you are a master meditator and you have completely overcome the laws of gravity, right? And you're floating in midair. I don't know, right? But wherever you're sitting, doing, standing, whatever right now, you being on this video either shows that for some reason you want to hear my voice, which, thank you, or you're trying to do better and you're trying to think a better way. And I wish I had a more complete, robust answer for you. I wish I could lay out a 10-point plan for you to feel loved and feel worthy of love and to overcome your problems and overcome your weaknesses, but I don't have it. Nobody has it. And anybody who says they have it, anybody who sells you this, oh, I know how to make you better, oh, this is all you got to do to get rich, or this is all you got to do to get women or get men or anything like that, they don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows, and it's different for everybody because the world is not so simple as to have one clear-cut plan for everybody to make it work. And we're all just figuring this out as we go. Every last one of us. There are 60-year-old men in this world still learning every day if they're open to it and still trying to find their place in this world. So don't feel bad if you're a little younger, because I guess I'm assuming my audience is going to be a little younger. If you're a little younger than me, older than me, I don't know. I'm 24. I almost said about a month until my birthday, but I'm almost 25. But if just be able to sit there and realize hey, this world doesn't come with an instruction booklet. Forgive me for the spiritual break for a second. The closest thing we get to an instruction booklet, in my opinion, is the Bible. And even that isn't clear. Even that isn't clear most of the time. So, we're all just in here doing our best and moving forward. And I guess since I'm on the topic, I think another place to where this is something we all do. I'm gonna touch back on the control thing earlier, right? I think and I could be wrong about this. I could be wrong. Sometimes I look too far into things, and I could be, But if you can look back at your life, I think if you feel unworthy of love now, there was definitely a time in the past that made you feel that way, right? People don't have feelings and emotions and attitudes towards things for no reasons, right? That's something you need to realize about people is everybody, that stubborn old man has reasons to be a stubborn old man. That Karen, that Karen that comes to the restaurants and just, makes everybody's life awful for 15 minutes, Even if you don't think she should be doing that, she's got reasons that she acts that way, and it's not just, because she feels like it today, even though she might feel like it today. But, just recognize the places in the world that you don't have control and haven't had control in the past. Because I think this is something that people have trouble with, is that, especially while we're young, and I'll use myself as an example here, especially while we're young, there are things that happen in the world and around us that we feel like is our fault, right? So I'm talking specifically like childhood trauma here. But, because when I was young, my parents divorced, right? And I spent almost 20 years blaming myself for that, right? Because for some reason I believed I was in control of that. I'm the ultimate decider, and it's ridiculous to even say it, but I'm the reason. I'm the reason they divorced. I'm the reason they couldn't get along. Everything was fine until they had me, and that's not true. That isn't what happened. But I made myself. Excuse me. But maybe on some level it helped for me to fool myself into thinking that I was in control there when I wasn't. Because here's the truth about the matter and about control. Is this world is a massive place. I mean, this world is huge. Way bigger than you. And the world isn't even all that there is. Like, we have Earth, right? And Earth is massive if you think about it. Like, I don't even know the number of people off the top of my head. It's billions though, right? I'm pretty sure. It's like 7 billion, or maybe more now. There are that many people on this planet just alone, and that's a hard number to even conceptualize because it's so big, right? People have a hard time conceptualizing numbers once you get to 100,000, a million. We're not able to sit and look at a billion and realize how big that is. We are not. But this world's massive, and the Earth is just one planet in the universe, right? This universe is even more so. It's, as far as we can tell, infinite, right? Everything is so much bigger than you. And here's the hard part, the tough pill to swallow, is you have almost no control over anything that happens. I mean, almost none. You have control over what you do. Outside of that, you don't. You don't have control over the weather. You don't have control over whether or not your vehicle breaks down. That is, unless you have been failing to change the oil regularly in your car, in which case, kind of your fault. You don't have control over whether or not your boss is upset today. You don't have control over whether or not that boy or girl loves you back. You don't have control over, anything. You don't have control over whether or not you get that job. You don't have control over whether or not you get into college. Or get that degree. Or you have control over whether or not you get a degree, but you don't have control whether or not you're getting accepted into a college. That is somebody else's decision. The only thing you can do is look at yourself and be yourself and see where that takes you. And at the end of the day, it helps to just be kind to yourself. And, remember you make mistakes. Remember you're not perfect. Remember you're not in control. And be kind to yourself about that. Because, if you're not, you got to sit there in your own corner. And you got to sit there and pat yourself on the back. Because, look, the hard truth is that nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else is going to sit here and tell you that it's okay. And I can tell you all day long in this microphone. I could sit here for hours and say, be kind to yourself. Be better to yourself. You're a human. You make mistakes. But it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick unless you believe that and say it to yourself. Here's the thing about therapy. If you're trying to use this as a substitute for therapy, and don't do that. But if you're using this as a substitute for therapy, here's the first thing you learn in therapy is that a therapist can't do anything for you. They can listen to you, they can give you counsel and guidance, but at the end of the day, you're going to be the person making all the progress yourself. And so they can tell you, they can give you strategies for how you can do better. They can give you strategies for how you can overcome these problems of yours. But who's going to be the person to solve them? Because they can't. You have to. And at the end of the day, you also got to realize, because here's something else I struggle with, which is why I guess, again, why I'm bringing it up here, is that the opinions of other people do not decide who you are. Who you are as a human being goes far beyond the opinion of any person or any group of persons, right? Because you are yourself. You are unique. Like, even just thinking about, even if you want to get into like the whole sperm idea, right? I'm pretty sure there are like, I struggle to say millions. I think it might be millions. Let's go hundreds of thousands of when you when you were first what's the word for it? Oh, what's the word for it? It's not birthed, concepted. Is that, yeah? At the time of your conception, right? You were one of many sperm, and you just happened to be the fastest swimmer. And now maybe you're sitting here thinking, man, all these other swimmers must have been really slow then, but you were the one who made it in. And even that was a miracle in and of itself. Like 1 in 100,000 chance. Let's say 1 in 100,000 chance that it was going to be you. Already. That's like slim odds. Right? You're unique. And you're meant to be here. Even if you don't think so or don't understand why, you're meant to be here and you're here for a reason. And you just got to find it. So go forth and do what you're meant to do. And this concludes the part where I try to be non-spiritual here, and we're going to move on into the spiritual part. So if you are not here for that and you just wanted to listen to the rest of it, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate your patronage, if that's the word for it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Alright, if you're still here, that means that you do, in fact, want to hear about my spiritual talkings and how I spiritually approach feeling unworthy of love, because this is what's really had me crying, right, over the past day, is because I personally feel totally unworthy of the love God shows me and that God has for me. I mean, I've cried. I'm about to cry right now. Because, and I think this is something that every single Christian who realizes just the magnitude of God's love, because the magnitude of God's love might very well, and I believe is infinite and unconditional. You don't feel worthy of it. You don't feel like you deserve it, and nobody does. That's kind of the point. No, there's not a soul alive. There's not a body alive. There's not a person alive who deserves God's love, deserves the love of Christ. Because, I mean, the sins I have committed, the ways I have acted, the foolish things I have done, God should have forsaken me entirely. God should have just cut me loose and let me go, and He didn't. And he didn't time and time again, God was there for me. Even when I didn't want Him there. But He knew I needed Him. And I can never, ever, ever repay that. But that's the nature of God's love, right? That's the glory of God's love. That's the grace, right? And that's how you know. That's how it's shown to you. That's how you can tell that there is somebody out there, because, man, if there wasn't, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. That's, I'm working on a video to where I'm gonna kind of lay out my whole testimony, And, if you want to see that, I'm going to make it either way. But if you want to see that, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll get it out at some point. But I want it to be good. So I'm taking my time and doing it right. And it's going to be scripted. It's not going to be like I'm doing now, which is kind of just, I have some bullet points and I'm moving through them. And so it's it's a little easier to like digest, right? Because I'm not sitting here with my technical language speak of type of written tip. And you can tell because I'm tongue-tied and can't speak right, because if it was scripted, it'd sound right. I don't have it all written out before me, and I'm kind of just going off what I got in my head, and so that, that makes it slower. That might make it more entertaining because you can laugh at the times that I mess up, right? Hopefully, I hope you can. I'm trying to, and even if I'm not, then I hope you enjoy it. But here's the thing about God's love, and I know this that's true for my life, is God will love you even if you don't believe yourself worthy, right? Because that's something I don't question. That's something I know. I can feel and I know it, and the Bible says so. But God will love you even in your darkest times, even when you're sitting there and you think you're I thought the worst things about myself. But even if you believe you're, a walking pile of garbage or something like that, God still loves you even then. And here's the thing, if God, the most powerful being in existence, can love you in that state, love you like that, and forgive you for all that you've done, then you can too, right? Because, and you might think, oh no, it should be backwards. No, because the most powerful being in existence doesn't have to love anybody. The most powerful being in existence doesn't have to save anybody. The most powerful being in existence God never had to save his creation. God never had to send Jesus Christ to us. God never had to do any of that. But he did anyway, didn't he? For God so loved the world, he sent his only begotten Son, right? And that didn't have to happen. God could have turned his back on us. God could have abandoned us all and left us to our own devices to spiritually rot, right? But he didn't. And I think back to the Old Testament. Maybe that's because that's what I've been reading through. But the Israelites, the Hebrews, they were God's, and maybe still are if you think about it, but were God's chosen people, right? And no matter how many times they turned their backs to God, no matter how many times they committed sins against God, no matter how many times they strayed from the path of righteousness, the path of light, God still accepted them back. God still put them back on the right path. If you read the Bible, you see how, people like to say the Bible is like a complete story from Old to New Testament, God redeeming his fallen creation. And I see it. But there were so many points in the Old Testament where God could have just threw in the towel. God could have just said, you know what, these Israelis, they don't deserve this. These people, they don't deserve this. They don't deserve my love, and I'm not going to give it to them. But he didn't. He didn't do that. God's love for you is so great that God will love you even when the rest of the world has turned its back on you. And I know this for a fact, because God loved me when the world turned its back on me, and I didn't even think myself worthy of attention or love from anywhere. And here's the thing, that's unconditional love. That if you don't know unconditional love, if you need to learn love, don't learn from the people in your life. I'm sorry, but people are imperfect creatures, right? If you want to learn love, the best place to learn love is straight from God. Especially if you want to learn what unconditional love is like. And here's the thing, you need to love yourself like that. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy. I struggle with it every day, right? But we can learn. We can learn to love unconditionally, and we can learn to love unconditionally for Christ. And you're not going to do that overnight. Accepting the love of God, the love of Christ into your life is the first step. If you can, and if you can do that. And then you got to let the Holy Spirit fill you and change you from the inside out. And it is not something that happens overnight. You can't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden be a different person. It doesn't work like that. All right. Here's what I think a good way of explaining this, and this is not my quote. I wish I could take credit for this, but no, this is from the pastor in the church I've been attending. He likes to say, he says this all the time, which is why I'm reusing it. I think it's great. I love it. You can only be one day more spiritual today than you were yesterday, right? Only one more day. You can't jump ahead 3 years. You can't jump ahead in spirituality just, as far as you want. You can't just, take an easy route. You can't do the easy way through. It's hard work and effort every single day. And you can be more spiritual today than you were yesterday, but only one more day. All right. And since you've listened to me for this long, I've got one more thing to say here. I've got the Bible in front of me. And I want to read a passage about God's love. To close out this episode, and then I'll do a short outro. But this is Romans chapter 8, verses 31 through 39. The title of this section is called God's Everlasting Love. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own Son, but gave him up for all of us, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? Who shall bring any charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is to condemn? Christ Jesus is the one who died. More than that, who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who indeed is interceding for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are all being killed all day long. We are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am sure that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all of creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in our Christ Jesus our Lord. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed hearing me go on and on about stuff like this, go ahead and leave a like. If you got an issue with what I've said, or you just have something to add, comment sections I think they're down below always, but if, they're to the side or something, then go over there and leave your comment. And if you, for some reason, enjoy listening to me speak, then go ahead and click that subscribe button. But I've been Alex. This has been the Lost Souls Podcast, and thanks for listening. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Peace.